Hello everybody, welcome to this video about animals in the agroecological system. So today we will mostly talk about why animals are useful for the agroecological system. So first of all, you almost need animals in an agricultural system to valorize your biomass of hedges, of green manure, of crop biomass, and to transform them into food products, so eggs, milk, meat, and others, and of course in manure, because another reason that animals are essential in an agroecological system is you use them to recycle many nutrients, transforming them rapidly into a form that can be assimilated by plants. So you can produce a fertilizer out of the biomass. And if you are in an organic production and you don't have mineral fertilizer, it's the main way that you will be able to fertilize your crops. So as I said, if you don't have the animals, it's really difficult to make the system function without input of external fertilizer. It's possible, but it's complicated. And animals can be used to control pest and weed. So basically, the number one goal of livestock in the agricultural system is not necessarily animal production. It can be in uh, some system, but in a vegetable production system, you need the animals, but it's not for animal production. It's more for um, manure production and other uses. So first of all, we just talk about ruminants. They have the ability to digest roughage like grass, legume biomass, crop biomass, hay, etc. So in the agroecological system, you can feed them with biomass of the hedges that you planted, moringa, leguminous tree, and others, or using the belting that you did around your plots with, for example, Pennisetum or Bracharia. You can feed them with green manures that you had included in your rotation, for example, Stylosanthes, Desmodium, Bracharia, and so on. You can feed them with the biomass of associated crops. For example, in the push-pull system, you can use Pennisetum and Desmodium to feed the animals. And then you can feed them with the biomass of crops, sweet potato, bean, cowpea, soybean. And of course, you can feed them by let them graze or by just planting pasture. Then there's three main ways to give the ruminants their roughage. First of all, you have the cut and carry system where the biomass is mowed and then brought fresh to the ruminants. The haying where you dry the biomass that you cut. So this is also a storage possibilities for dry season. And then you can just let the animal graze on the pasture and help them and let them feed on the. So first of all, the cut and carry system, it's the best way to have quality fodder. It's with this system that you get the better quality forage. It allows to keep the animals in the barn and then collect manure efficiently. And it's the only way to feed animals with the biomass of the hedges or of the belting or of the associated crop and so on, because you cannot send ruminants in the middle of a cereal or a vegetable crop. But this implies a high workload, and you will have to mix yourself the grass and the legume because the animals will not do the selection themselves. Then you have hay, so it's interesting for preservation of grass fodder in the dry season. You should use young biomass with a lot of nitrogen. Um, so you should not do it with anything like Stylosanthes or sweet potato is not adapted for hay. You should let the grass dry for 2 days in the sun and then you can store it. You should not store wet hay because you have a risk that it will start rot and then it can start a fire because it will produce high temperature. So it's a good way to store for the dry season if you don't have enough pasture for the dry season. But you lose quality, so it's not interesting if you have the fresh fodder. Uh, then an alternative to hay is silage, which is also a way to store fodder. But it's not only interesting to store fodder, it's also interesting to increase the quality of the fodder. So silage consists of fermentating grass to increase or fodder to increase its digestibility and energy content. So if you let the grass fermentate, it will be easier to eat for the animal. It will give more energy. So it's interesting to replace partly concentrates because you will give something with a lot of energy and a lot of which will be easy to eat for the ruminants. So you could replace a part of the concentrate with this and in order to get good milk yield or meat production. Of course, there's a way to store the fodder in dry season. Ideally, you should mix grass that is not completely dry with urea and sugarcane and then close it with plastic to let this fermentate. We are currently testing at Aladale some alternative to urea and sugarcane that can be found on the site. So we'll try with fruit waste and urine. You can also do silage out of maize, so the whole plant, not just the corn. Finally, a last way to feed the ruminants their roughage is to let them graze. So it's not a high workload, but it's difficult to control what the animals eat, so they can poison themselves. They can eat too much or too wet and get sick. They can eat too much protein or too much roughage, so there are some health issue with it. And if you have too much animal grazing, you can cause a loss of biodiversity and even worse, a soil denudation if they kill everything. So if you want to limit these risks of grazing, you can do rotational grazing. This will prevent the denuding of the soil, prevent erosion, and will keep the biodiversity. So this means you will make some small plots of grazing where ideally you would sow some quality fodder. You will separate so your grassland into small fields, and then you will send the animals to one field after another. You will move the animal from one to the other before they kill everything and denude the soil, and then you will mow after they went away, so that you will also cut the grasses and plants that they do not eat. If you don't do this, you will accumulate these, and at the end you will have a low quality pasture. And you should not send back the animal to the same plot before the, the plants have grown back enough. So this is a way to avoid overgrazing and also to prevent selective grazing and the decrease of quality of your pasture. So as I've mentioned before, when you feed ruminants, you need to have an essential balance between legumes and grasses. Legumes bring proteins and grasses bring fiber and sugar. If you have an unbalanced forage, it will cause digestion and health problem. If you have too much energy and too low fiber, it can even cause the death of ruminants by an acidification of its stomachs. So a balanced forage contain between 50 and 70% grasses and between 30 and 50% legumes. You should also be aware of diet changes. So if you for example, when the rain comes, you have a lot of production, you should monitor what your animals eat, because it's a moment where they can eat too much of something and go and have following health issue. Uh, a way to limit or to control partly the gastric parasite of ruminants in agroecology is using different leaves. So you can use leaves of different Acacia radiana, Lilatica, and Carew, and Moringa leaves that have shown, there's some publication about it, that shown that they have potential to combat gastric parasite. So if you they are feed anyway, so if you feed partly your ruminants with them, you can limit the risk of the gastric parasite. So now we just have a few words about poultry. So they are interesting to valorize kitchen and some waste peelings and stuff. They also can be used to sent to plots after the harvest, they will eat the remaining crops, the remaining crop residues. They will turn the soil, fertilize it, deworm it. So it's interesting. If you have ducks, especially the runner ducks, you can send them mostly at any time in the field because they usually don't eat the crops. So they will eat the pest without damaging the crops. Um, you can also send the poultry with the ruminants together before you plant your crop so that they will uh, kill the plants, kill some pests, and fertilize. You should still supplement the poultry nutrition with grain from cereals and from legumes. You should usually cook lightly the legume grains, otherwise they can be toxic for the poultry. Okay, so this was it for the video about the animals in the agroecological system. Thank you.